Are we sharing it too?
All right, guys, welcome back. We got another amazing show. I have three of my most favorite people. We got James, the Zillow Killer, Gene, the Evil Bald Ninja, and Nick Sakis, the man, the myth, and the legend. We are talking about all things marketing. We're talking about, is democracy dead? We're talking about the great hack. What does it mean for real estate? What does it mean for your business? What does it mean just in life? So I'm excited to have you guys. Matt's not going to be here today because he's a putz. And he totally blackhearted on me, and I felt left and abandoned in a corner somewhere. But I got these three legends with me, and it's going to be epic. So you got incredible conversations, and I actually had to make them shut up before we went on air because there's so much good content. So before we get going on this, Mr. James, how are you? I love the gear. If you guys can't see me, James sent me a Zillow Killer hat, which I am rocking hardcore. So James, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Always a pleasure to be here.
It is always going to be a blast. And since
you're having a good hat day, too.
I'm having a fantastic hat day today. Are you kidding me? This is the best day of my life. Mr. Nick Sakis, my wonderful, incredible friend. How are you, brother?
What's up? What's up? I'm doing fantastic besides lack of sleep from children at the house, keeping me up all night and early morning. But other than that, we're doing good. I'm excited about this topic because this Netflix movie that me and both Evil Bald Ninja watched was epic, and I think there's a lot of intricacies to it, and I think going over it with everybody on the call is going to be really interesting.
I think it's going to be a blast. And then we also have the Evil Bald Ninja himself, Mr. Gene Volpe. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I love how you save the best for last, the best looking, and all right, so maybe not, but that's cool. What's up, bro? How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. And I like I was saying, I had to get you three to shut up before you guys carried on, because the epic content that you guys were throwing down off air. I'm like, everyone shut the fuck up. We got to put this stuff out on air.
That was a solid move out of you for sure.
Yeah, because you guys were just going to keep talking, you chatterbirds. But so I want to break into this really quick. There's no pussyfooting around. Let's dive deep and really go after this. What you guys were going hard on, we're talking about, the great hack, the documentary. We're also talking about real estate, what it means. Is real estate going to remain the same way it is? What about the internet? Is it what it used to be? What is changing with that? And you three were weighing in heavy on this, so I'm going to just throw it over to you. Whoever wants to jump in and just let's kick this party off and really go deep on this, because I'm going to sit here and take notes because I thought it was fascinating.
You mind if I kick it off?
Yeah,
if,
man,
if
roll,
the boys
bro.
are okay with it. And I just want to set precedent here real quick. Here's why. So I've been on this kick for, Greg, for the last 3 months because of different things. And one of the things that we deal with in our family is I got an 11-year-old, a 14-year-old girl. And I'm going to do this real quick because I think I beat this to death and the people have heard the story. But we're at a point in time where my wife and I have differing opinions on whether or not they should be on their phones, what time they should be off, what social media sites they should be on, so on and so forth. So I'm trying to get her to watch these docs. I'm explaining to her how your footprint is way more dangerous out there. We're talking about things like, this could be a mental health crisis, blah, 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 right? When I explained to her last night, we sat at dinner, and I was like, let me explain to you what's going on behind the scenes and how it's great for me and my business and James's business and Nick's business, because if you understand how it works, you can take advantage of that. And I like how Nick said morally and ethically to get leads that come in. But most people, 99.999% of the people out there, have no idea how this stuff works and just how mind-numbing and mind-bending it can be when done properly. And so she was like this, look, we can get Snapchat for our daughter who's going into freshman year. And I was like, no. And I went through my bullet points that came out of the Great Hack and Citizen 4 and things we talked about, and she sat at the other end of the table with her jaw on the floor. Like, I didn't know that any of this stuff took place. I'm rethinking my stance on this. So I think when we dig in, some people that are watching might be like, what the hell did they just say? But other people, if they can grasp the power behind it, will be like, holy shit, how do I do this for myself?
Okay, so break it down for me, gentlemen. James, Nick, where are we on this? What are your thoughts on this? And are we going somewhere different? Are we going into a dark hole with social media? Are we ultimately all just foobarred? Are we all just lab rats and just getting poked and prodded by the powers that be? How can this be a positive thing for real estate, or we just need to shut off all of our phones, all of our Alexas, and everything else that's listening to us 24/7 and collecting data on us? Tell me, guys, talk.
I'll jump in here. I think that's that portion of do we remove ourselves would be the worst thing ever in reference to removing ourselves from what the internet is. Having a clear perspective of where we fit is super, super important, and understanding that, you put the internet in the same perspective as cars. There were horse and buggies, and then when they invented cars, everyone pulled away from it. And then they built roads. Now horse and buggies were in danger of the cars. The internet has a road now. The shit is unstoppable. Mm-hmm. So if we're still trying to position ourselves in a dated or a old format of communicating with our potential prospects, we're wasting our time. We cannot unring the bell of what's already in play in reference to what digital is, and the enhancement of what the internet and social media done responsibly can do for our lives is an absolute game changer. Where we get lost at is when we try to consume information that's almost irrelevant to what's happening. We scream about privacy, but most of the platforms that we're on are free, mm-hmm. first and foremost. And it requires some level of humanizing who you are, so you can kind of get rid of the bullshit of, okay, you're a real person. So we've already forfeited privacy when we decided to give who we are to the internet.
Willingly,
exactly. Right? Yeah. And we scream like, oh, they got our information. We've been gave that shit away. That's not a new thing. And this is why I always scream, the digital aspect exists. Never negate the fact that we always have to humanize ourselves inside the process. Even when we're talking to people, when we're putting out videos, we have to keep that human element there. It's so easy to type and scream at people through the internet when we forget the fact that that's another person we're talking to. The human aspect is so easily dismissed when we put digital in play. Yep. And that's the exact same thing when we go with the industry. We can bullshit everybody. I sold 100 houses. I sold 1,000 houses. Nobody cares about that shit. How can you help me? And when we remove the aspect of the human element, that's when it gets all wacky. And then we start tripping out like, oh, they got our information. You've been gave that shit away. Calm down. It's what it is. The same thing as if with the vehicle aspect. We can't back up what the internet is already moving towards, and social media is the internet. It's bigger than data, it's bigger than algorithms, it's bigger than what we see here. We have given the internet everything it needs to thrive. The next momentum and the next growth, when we start talking about, and I don't want to stray too far out there, when we start talking about AI and things of that nature, we've given enough information that if that did exist, it's already in play.
Well,
I think, yeah, go ahead.
No, after you, Nick, after you.
I was going to say, just to piggyback on what they were talking about, so on Gene's point of where we're at right now and our conversations, me obviously having children, it's different. So we entered into this world that we didn't fully understand, and now we're trying to recognize that, hey, what's the protection factor for us and our kids? How much do we want them to expose them to, and how much do we want to regulate their usage of these things that are going to be way more than we ever even anticipated in the next 10 years, right? With Elon Musk and embedded technology and all that crap that's even further advanced than we could even think about. So, like, there's that social aspect of it. But then the second aspect, too, that Gene touched on as well before we even hopped on the call is we're lazy. And the fact that we have spoken, we realize, oh, shit, maybe we did get all of our information away for free. But we're still not paying for it because YouTube, how many times do you hop on YouTube and it says, would you like YouTube Red? Get rid of the ads. And we all say no. I don't know anybody who pays for YouTube Red. Me as an advertiser, I actually like watching commercials, which is weird, but it's, research anyway. But as a society, we said, we don't like the fact that we give away our data, but at the same time, we're not going to pay for these platforms. So it kind of is what it is. And to what I was saying before we hopped on and went live, like the experiences that we have when done properly and ethically, marketing should enhance your life. You have interests in your life, and when done properly, your data is used to give information to the companies that you would like to buy products and services from. So in that aspect, it's a good thing. It's just when it comes to like the great hack and you see the behind the scenes of how it was molded for political views to bombard people's news feeds and their digital world from all the blogs they read and everything to all this propaganda, that's where it starts to get a little shady and say, okay, now you're really forming the opinions of other people to be pushed to your agenda. That's where it gets a little scary. One more point from what James was talking about. I think we've gone into this existence right now where Web 1.0 kind of came out. Then Web 2.0 was social media, and it was all about blasting your message to as many people as possible. The transition that's happening right now, what James was talking about, being more human, you still have to be belly to belly. Obviously, we're in a relationship business. But the new way of marketing and what artificial intelligence is going to help you do is take that message and go from one-to-one to one-to-many, but then one-to-many to one. So it takes that mass message communication but personalizes it for each individual. And that's what's really, really interesting about what's going on in the transition. One article I read a couple months ago, McDonald's is probably one of the first big players you're going to see with this. They bought a data company for $400 million
Wow.
just recently, just this year. And the reason they did that is when you pull up to McDonald's, you're going to notice you might all not be fat like me and go to McDonald's all the time, or maybe you have kids and they love the Happy Meal, and that's fine. But McDonald's is changing their signage, and it's all digital now. Most of the McDonald's, at least in my area, their signs are all digital, and they all change every time you drive up. So your information is stored in the database, and when you pull up, you're going to see different offers than the person in the car behind you based on what menu items you've already purchased. That's a perfect example of going mass communication down to narrow, from one-to-one to one-to-many to one-to-many to customized. And that's how we need to think of, and it's an overwhelming thought process, but that's basically the future of marketing.
So let me pick your the three geniuses' brains on this podcast really quickly. So we know big data is coming, and it still cracks me up when I do my calls and stuff like that, and people go, "How did you get my cell phone number?" I'm like, it's the easiest thing on earth to purchase a cell phone number's information. I mean, my brother has a big data company, and I look through his spreadsheets, and I know every single thing. I know who you donate your political money to. I know, anything I want to buy, I can buy it on. I know what your credit score is. I know what you purchased for. I know what bank you got it from. I know what your loan amount is. I know all of this stuff. So people get so bent out of shape at the fact that the big data is out there and that it is watching on everything that you do. And you guys are right. We are giving our information away freely at all times. And here's the funny thing is that because of that, we were so used to getting the free stuff, but at the exact same time, if you were to be deplatformed or ghosted by anything else like this, I mean, you're being harvested like a cow at the slaughterhouse, and you don't even know it. Because think about it: if you're on Google and you have Gmail and you have Google Calendar and everything else, well, if Google decides to kill your account, there you go, you're gone. I mean,
but the other thing too, without the relationship, all that data doesn't necessarily matter so much unless you have billions of dollars to spend on ads. Like I was giving the example in that documentary, I think it was Trump's ad spend was like $59 million versus Hillary's, or 59 million ads versus Hillary's was like 66,000. How do you compete with that? You have one company that's spending $1 million a day versus another company that might be spending 100,000.
So here's this question for you guys. With that in mind, then with Zillow getting into the buying and selling game, with Amazon getting into the real estate game, with these absolute behemoths, does the real estate agent of today even stand a chance, or is it like a fart in the wind or shooting a BB gun at a freight train when it comes to competing with this to get yourself heard? I would love to hear you guys' opinion on how people can overcome this, because this is going to be a hurdle. I'm going to go out and say it. I think real estate agents are going to go by the way of the dodo bird at some point, the way we are today, because There's
Compensation-wise, yes.
yes, compensation-wise. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Again, the looking at it on the broad side of it, it does sound daunting. But the same rules apply, and unfortunately, most agents don't have the discipline to focus being hyperlocal. Most agents won't take the time to focus on the relevant or being relevant to their community. If you can hold those two rules, it positions you to be omnipresent. That's the thing that big companies can't do. Nationally, we can't compete with them, but on a hyperlocal scale, oh, we can give them hell hyperlocally, because we can, again, it puts us back in front of that belly to belly process. We're not just data, we're not just information anymore. We are the agent, or we are the professional, we are that source of information, but we have to be able to condense how, because you talk to a person, you say, what market are you focused on, and they'll give you a county. Most won't say a neighborhood, most won't say a community. They'll
3
say
counties.
on a broad.
Tri-county.
That's the misconception that agents have when they don't understand that with marketing, we can get really, really precise, and even with everything everything that we're dealing with, every piece of software, everything that we're using to enhance our life is positioned as a data algorithm based company that we can utilize to position ourselves in front of the end consumer. But again, that's a slower burn. That's a higher level of consistency. We're putting out content that's consistent. And just as simple as doing video is like pulling teeth. It's like, do you do video? No, I haven't gotten around to it. Video is not an option for our business anymore. It's essential. It's not for any business. That's not even something we can think about.
So let's break that down a little bit and go deeper on video. And I want you three to really take the gloves off, bare knuckle fighting here, and be honest with the consumers who are listening to this. When it comes to the logistics of their future business, I mean, James, I'm 100% on board with you, man. Video it's not a side hustle. It's a necessity. It's like having a real estate license. It's that important for you to sell real estate in the future, because you have to be hyperlocal and you have to humanize yourself 100%. So let's start with what's the Bald Ninja, and each of you guys go round robin. So we'll go Gene, Nick, James, and I want you guys to break down some easy to do marketing and video tips and how you can become hyperlocal and omnipresent for the average agent to compete against Amazon, Google, Zillow, everyone else who's going to start coming into this industry to take part of those trillions of dollars. So, Gene, take us off. Where would you start for agents to start being? And you guys have to understand this. What we're talking about is not something you start tomorrow or when you have the perfect camera or the right microphone. Get the fuck out there and start making some videos. You're going to suck at it in the beginning, but it's okay. I mean, I was horrible when I first started. I arguably still am. We don't know that. These guys are very nice to me. They let me think I'm good. But, Gene, how would you start this, man?
Oh, my God. I don't even know where to begin, right? So first off, let's start. Here's where I would say let's start here. I agree with everything that these guys are saying, and especially what James was saying about the hyperlocal sense of this or the angle of it, as well as the fact that we're back to belly. And Nick said it before, too, like one to one, then one to mass, then one to mass to one, right? So, like, in other words, it went from me and you belly to belly, referral only, to holy shit, Facebook ads work. Let me go one to many, me telling everybody about my business. That'll get me business. And then everybody started doing that. Now we're back to, okay, I still got to go that route, but I really need to still have coffee with that person. So I'm going to tie that back, Greg. Who was the one that said create your 50 raving fans? Do you remember that?
Yeah, who was that?
I forget. Think about that for a second. It was somebody who was a guest, I think, on the show.
Matt would be able to tell me, but I forget. But
we talked about it again a couple weeks ago, and I think that ends up being, if you want to start simple, then what I would start to say is think about what your 50 raving fans would like to see out of you. Create one long-form piece of content, chop it up into 20 different spaces, have somebody like James or like Nick train you on the best way to promote that out to as many places as possible organically. And then now here's where you got to get into the weeds. And then when we're talking digitally, get to the point where when you see people that are interacting with that stuff, you got to kind of pick up the phone and talk to them about it, right? So when somebody responds to something that you're doing, don't just send them a message. You got to make the phone call and say, hey, thank you so much for that review. I'd love to buy you some coffee, like just little things like that, old sales tactics. So, and let me just say one more thing, because James just said it, it's not an option anymore. Greg, you were kind of saying, like, don't wait for the new camera.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a feature-length film that Jay Farrow is in that was 100% of the film was shot on an iPhone 7. So what's the difference between you and Jay Farrow? Probably a good director and the fact that they know how to use the phone better than you. Oh, and by the way, they've been doing it for so long. So get your ass out there. Any phone you have outside of your flip phone that you have is going to have a camera that's good enough, if used properly, is going to get you in front of enough people where it's going to start a conversation. When it does start the conversation, beat the conversation to death until you get in front of that person, and then just figure out how you can help them or somebody that they're close to.
That's good. That's a good way to start. Nick, what's yours?
So I'm very much a positive person, and I don't want this to come across as negative. But I'm 100% with James when he says it's not an option anymore. Video's not an option, and just get out there and do it. However, since we've gone past the point of video is no longer an option, and you should have been trying this stuff out 5 years ago, the problem right now is if your video isn't good, people aren't going to watch it, right? And just throwing up content to throw up content is not as good of an idea, in my opinion, as thoughtfully coming up with an idea. And this goes back to hyperlocal. What are the key pieces in your area that people are interested in seeing? What are the restaurants? What are the dog parks? What's your niche? What's your offer? All those things are very, very important when you're coming up with content. Don't just think, I'm going to just wake up in the morning at 9 o'clock and brush my teeth and turn on the camera and everybody's going to want to see what I talk about. That's not the case anymore. It's got to be interesting. So to second that, I always tell people, if you're not familiar with video, the best thing you can possibly do, and my best video tip ever, is to just record yourself for 30 days. Make a commitment that every day for 30 days, all you're going to do is record yourself on camera, knowing the fact that you're not going to publish one piece of content. Because what happens is, when you never record anything, when you hit that record button, all of a sudden your heart beats faster, your breath is shorter, you're nervous, you get 2 sentences out and you stutter. So you should just practice on your phone, just practice hitting the record button on a camera until you're comfortable enough to hit record and not freak out. And if that takes 30 days, if it takes 45 days, if it takes 60 days, whatever it is for you, just be committed to it. And as soon as you can get comfortable and be yourself on camera, then you're authentic, then you can get that audience interaction, then people will jive with you. It's not forced, and it's natural, and then it's something that you could really capitalize on.
Interesting. I love the idea of practicing on your video ahead of schedule, so when people their heart's not gonna explode when they hit the go live button or recording or anything like that.
Everybody has that. That's why they don't do it.
I don't. You don't. James doesn't.
We don't. We don't. Yeah.
We do this all the time, though. I mean, this is like second nature to all of us. We breathe in front of a camera.
I don't care what people think about me. That's my biggest issue, and I think.
That's
But Jay, let's be honest though. The first time you recorded content,
I was scared as shit.
Of course.
Oh
yeah,
no, I was terrified.
But you.
But I tell you what, I'll help a lot of you guys. And I always tell a lot of my coaching students, when you really understand that life, you got one time to get this shit right. You got one time. We got one time to get this right. Do you really care about what a person thinks about you when you understand where you're going? Do you really care?
That's great.
And
90% of people can't do that.
Oh well,
so it takes practice, right? Yeah.
But it does. Now, and I agree. It does take practice. I still don't like to hear my voice, and I'm not. If I see it,
yeah.
I'm not. I run with it. But I honestly do not care how a person feel on the other side. I truly don't. And maybe because of there are things that I personally deal with that a lot of other people don't. You know what I mean? Like people misinterpret me for being younger than I am. I got this black shit going on with some people just got a problem with that. You know what I
Wait,
mean?
what? Wait, hold up. What?
Wait, you're black?
What?
You know?
Fuck.
Next thing he's gonna say, he's gonna tell us he's a dude too.
Well, that's my next thing. There we go. And gender-wise, you get people pulling back, so you just be surprised. You know what I mean? For whatever reason. But at the end of the day, we have to get to a place in our business, and this is the biggest misconception that we have as agents. We view this shit as a hobby. When we really see this as a business and start to maneuver as a business, we handle business. It's not about the opinion of people. I tell everybody, who cares about trying to fit in? Be memorable. That's more important. More important than anything. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to really go deeper on that right there, because I think what you just said is the most impactful thing I've heard so far. I mean, in regards to just a small nugget. We have to stop viewing this as a hobby, and we have to start viewing this as a business.
Too easy to get a license, so we kind of treat this shit like a commodity. It's like 2 weeks, you got your license, I got business, and they don't understand there's a process to being a business. You know what? I think a lot of people, we hear the term creator, and being creative, and we see that as the same thing. I'll use that as a Greek analogy. Everyone is creative. Every person has some creative aspect to them. Very few of us are creators. Very few of us can take a blank page and fill that shit up. Very few of us can do the work. Very few of us are willing to take that initiative and forget about what the world feels and thinks about us and get shit done. That's how we have to start maneuvering in our business. And that's the thing. That's one of the areas that I think brokers should start telling their agents and helping their agents understand that this is a business. This is one of the few industries and businesses that have no financial cap. We can take this as far as we want.
Yeah.
But it's so easy. It's so laid back. Oh, nah, I'll get to it later. I'll call them back later. It just some shit about the industry is really daunting, but unfortunately the barrier to enter is too low. For God's sakes, it takes some 16,000 hours for just somebody to do my nails.
Yeah, that's the true part. It's true.
But I mean that's a longer conversation. But I did have some strategy for the video part of it. But I do know what Nick is saying. A lot of people don't have that toughness. I'm that type of dude. Buck the hell up and get to work. I hear you.
Real quick, before you get into your strategy, I kind of want to, because I want to go back to that too, but I want to talk to you about something that conjoins what you're talking about with what Nick was saying about, and that's a confidence level. So Nick was saying you're going to get better the more you do it. Do it for 30 days, right? And then by the 15th day, you're like, wait, I got this shit down. You're saying, which I totally get, which is, I don't really give a shit what people think about me. But you also told me that in the beginning of that, you did. So there was a crossover between being confident while you're on film and being confident in the fact that, you know what, I'm going to have my haters, but here's the reality. The content I'm giving out is actually helping people. If you're willing to listen to what I'm telling you and you're going to make money, you're the person I'm talking to, not the asshole.
That ties back into when Nick hit home and he says, we're not putting out content for content's sake.
Right.
I don't say shit I don't know.
Right.
And that's where a lot of agents have a problem. You can go ahead and try and fool most, but the information exists. We can't really give the end consumer any new information. You show them a house, they've probably been to it 3 or 4 times prior to you showing it to them. You know what I mean? So, knowing your market goes back to relevancy. Being hyperlocal is just part of the discipline. Relevancy is the key, because if you can't be relevant, you can't resonate, and you have to be able to resonate with the other side of the camera. Just content is cool, and I love to say just do it and it'll work. There is strategy behind what we do when we get on camera. It may seem a little, it may seem kind of innate for us, but I kid you not, when I first started shooting video, I hated how I sound. I hated how I sound, but I hit publish anyway. And a lot of my earlier videos are like, man, Jesus, what was that? You know what I mean? But it never happened. Now, this was the funny part, was it fell back to me only talking about things I knew. I didn't like how I sound, but I was talking about what was relevant at the time. You know what I mean? Like I was saying like some real information. It wasn't meaty. Like I'm taking some of the content I shot a year or two ago and just putting it back out there. And it's just starting to pop. Like, dude, I've been saying this shit for 2 years. Like this ain't new. Like I've been trying to put that out there, but I didn't have that confidence level that I have now, which I wouldn't say I have a confidence level. I honestly don't care. Like I'm at a place, like if you take the time to give me negative feedback, because I had to do was like, hey, your videos are too long. My man, you don't have to watch it. Like,
right.
you know what I'm saying? Like watch what you want to watch, and then move. If 3 minutes is your thing, then it's cool, it's fine. But there, as of me being authentic to me, I had more to say. I had 5 minutes to talk. Like
You know, I want to weigh in on that really quickly because all of us, if you guys are listening to this, go to my YouTube channel, McDaniel Real Estate Systems, and I want you to go to the videos, click on the videos, go all the way down to the original stuff that Matt and I started shooting on this podcast. What the fuck was going on with my hair? And what was I talking about? I look like a drowned rat, right? You know, who stuck his toenails into an electrical outlet, just shit going everywhere. And I kept producing videos. I've been shooting with viral marketing for the last almost 5 years now. Dude, here's a real world story that happened within 30 minutes ago, literally. I had a gal reach out to me. This is not, you can't make this shit up. She met me she's a Safeway checker at Safeway, at our local supermarket. I met her somehow. I got her information. I've been sending her videos for the last 2 years. I have not talked to this woman ever, but she's been getting my videos. I've been putting out content. She called me today, and she's like, Greg, I need to list my house right now. I'm like, great. You know, it's probably like 700 to 750. She's like, perfect. When can we go on the market? I'm like, Thursday? She's like, great. Come over today. Let's talk strategy. And, I mean, and then I went and listed a $3.1 million home from a guy named Hussein, wonderful man. I haven't talked to this man in 5 years. You know, he's getting my videos for the last 5 years. And you know what he said to me? The first thing he said, hey, Greg, how are you? I loved your last video, the interview you did with Scott Seafood. And so, I mean, the power is there. It's the ability to stay omnipotent and talk about things that are creative in your marketplace. And here's the easiest thing, guys. You don't have to overthink it. Here's a hack. Go to tripadvisor.com, type in your city, and go interview or do a video about the top most interesting things from TripAdvisor, and that will make you hyper-local, and that will bring in some relevancy. Have you guys done that before? I'm assuming you guys have done this.
I remember you put it out there, so I personally haven't done it, but yeah, we've suggested some of this stuff.
That's
awesome. I think that's powerful.
It's super simple. You don't have to talk about real estate. 98% of people don't really give a shit about real estate right now. Buying, selling, escrows, all that stuff. Nobody gives a shit.
Well, they're not in market.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yes.
That's the problem. So we put all of our efforts to people who are only in market in the next 30 or 60 days, and then you completely exclude 98% of the public. And then you wonder why the phone doesn't ring. And yeah, so, and also too, if Frank was listening to this podcast, Greg, he'd probably stab you with a spoon because part of the viral plan is calling those people that watch your videos.
Hey, I do call them. You shit stick. But my point is that it's just getting content that's relative, that's relatable to the mass public 100%. Around you, right?
We're around so much content as agents just from being in the field. You know what I mean? We see all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? Tree lines, aesthetics of a house. You know, there's tons of stuff, tons of stories. You know, and I tell everybody, no one's better than, you know, unless they really went through some acting class and all that stuff. Very few people take the time to do all that. But no one's really better than you in video. They're just braver than you. That's the big difference. You got people that's willing to go out there and put themselves out there, and that really, really want to win in their business and grow their business. So they do everything that they know that's working. Hey, we're telling you video works. Deploy it now. There's nothing to analyze. You know what I mean? It works. You just heard And for people that's listening, I hope you guys are hearing one, the price point he just said, because people have a way of separating luxury versus they got this whole thing. Well, that works because you're selling $200,000 houses.
No.
You know what I mean? That works because you're going 3. Greg is talking about multi-million-dollar units, and the exact same strategy applies.
Oh, it does. I mean, that's not even the funniest thing. Dude, people always think they need to look perfect. I went and took a $5 million listing plus another $2 million listing and a $3.1 million listing in the last 3 months in jeans. All right? And then I told them I'm going to go shoot some live video about their house. They were ecstatic. You don't have to look perfect. You don't have to say perfect things. You need to create value, like the 3 other gentlemen on this podcast are saying. What are you laughing at, Bald Ninja?
I just think it's fun. These are the things that we're hung up on. Like, I love what you just said because most people, like, I did a guest show on a podcast the other day. It was called "How to Not Be a Douchebag on Social Media," and I said, listen, here's your number one problem. If you're a douchebag on video, you're probably a douchebag in real life. Just get over it and go make your money. Like, people are like, I don't want people to see me like this, but then they'll go like, I'll just use you as an example. I don't want to turn the video camera on because my shirt says "shit just got real," but you will go to a listing appointment in "shit just got real" shirt. You know
I am.
Like, if your hair's screwed up and you got a stutter, that's what it is.
Greg is comfortable. Greg is hitting what agents don't understand. What a lot of agents don't understand. He doesn't send a representative. He sends Greg. He's not trying to be something outside of Greg.
Exactly.
When you're comfortable, the world is looking for authenticity.
Yeah.
And people just to be who they are. I'll say this too. Our imperfections. It holds value because it's true. It's you. It's not. There's nothing like okay. There's nothing to figure out. You feel what I'm saying? Like we can remove all of the bullshit. I gotta figure you out. We save a lot of time, and they can determine does this work or not. They can look at Greg and be like, nah, not for me. But if they're calling him based off all the content out there,
they already know.
And it wasn't a, hey, I'm interviewing people. Legitimately, it was like, now that I'm really serious about making a move, I thought about who I should be calling because I know a lot of real estate people. Greg, I thought of you because I've been getting your videos. She said that 3 times to me.
And you also passed the sniff test, which is when you see somebody on video the first 7 seconds, you already know whether or not you like them based off of the reaction. Right? Yeah, all the stuff. And, James, I was agreeing with you. I think my point earlier was that agents won't get on video because they're too busy trying to become something on camera that they're not in real life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's that misinformation that flows. Like, I mean, it's the same thing. A lot of new agents here, your first year is going to be bad, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to have a bad first year. That's not true. Matthew Colucci is a coaching student. His first year, he did over $250,000 in GCI. First year. And he was still working as a gym teacher. You know what I mean? You don't have. So I think the information that's put out there, I guess the perspective that most new agents or agents are giving, no one comes out and tell them, dude, why don't you be you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because I'll tell you to go talk to your sphere of influence. Hey, talk to your people. That's easy to say, but no one adds when you talk to your sphere of influence. Make sure you be you. Right? Don't try and be anything other than you.
You had to be 100% authentic. I had my buddy, a good friend of mine, Stefan Adika. He's been on the show. I don't think he's ever been on the show, but you guys would probably know him. He's an old rock and roll dude. Not that he's old. He'd kill me if I said that. But I mean, he's got tattoos all over his chest, full sleeve tattoos. He's got a big old 805 tattooed on his hand. His first listing appointment when he was working in Paso Robles, he put makeup cover up on his hand. And he was sweating, and he bought a suit, and he tried to, go be a professional, air quotes, in real estate. He was sweating like a whore in church. The makeup was coming off his hand, and I had to verbally slap him like, you are an idiot. You've got to be authentically you. Rock your beanie, be the East Coast Jew that you are, and he calls himself that, by the way, and just roll with the tattoos. I can't say that, but he can, as he is, and he rocks that. I talked to a young gal. She's a young, black, gay female. And she's like, oh, my God, I don't know if I can do it in this business. And I'm like, why not? She's like, I'm young, I'm black, and I got dreadlocks. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you look like, man. That's your people. Go rock yourself. Go talk to your tribe. Your tribe will come to you. You don't have to be where your father was. Huh?
Me and Nick, he was talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
When he asked me about the whole Zillow killer thing, and I was telling him about, I said Blair Warren has a quote, um, and it ties into the tribal thing, but he was asking the whole Zillow killer situation. I said the statement was, people will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their faults, align their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies. Those are the people willing to get up under you and rally behind you. So, even in video, let's use for the sake of argument. I know a guy, client, and I agree with him. He thinks Bank of America is shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll say that. Don't go to Bank of America. He tells his community that. Like, and it always falls in a joking manner. But people that can relate to that got screwed by Bank of America, that's seeing this video, is like, okay, I can dig that. You know what I mean? So again, being authentic is and I'm not saying just blurt shit out. I'm saying if it's authentically you and you're comfortable saying like, hey, listen, this restaurant was X, Y, and it has to be legit. They can't just, because you didn't pay the tab and they, now you guys got you being disgruntled with them. It has to be something legit where it's like, the customer service here is shit. Like, I've been trying for like a month to get straightened out. If you guys, and those are just examples. I'm not saying to go that level, but those examples that if you're going to be comfortable putting content out there, and when you start to get people start to listen to your voice and your voice has value, when you be authentic of who you are, be okay telling them the truth.
Yeah, I mean, when I started this podcast, I dialed it back. I dropped a lot of F-bombs, like over-the-top stuff. And I thought about this to myself when I started doing it. I'm like, okay, and this is going back to what you're saying, James, is I said, okay, well, if I'm going to be this, then I have to be comfortable with my grandma hearing this. And would it be okay if she heard my podcast? Now, it was very awkward when my grandfather, 90-plus years old, sits me down and goes, Gregory, I think we need to talk about your vernacular. And I'm like, shit.
You're embarrassing the family, Greg.
Oh, I had people call my parents going, your son's is rude, your son's this, your son's that. But that I didn't stop because that was who I felt I wanted and needed to be at that point, and I just kept putting that content out there. And guess what? All of a sudden, like a light switch, it flipped, and all of a sudden people are like, you know what? Your son's really doing a good job with all this content. And I'm like, yeah, motherfucker. It's because I didn't stop, and I was me. And if you don't like it, change the channel. If you like me, cool, let's kick it. If not, fuck off. But honest. I'm cool with either one. I
was talking to my coaching students, and that falls. You guys ever studied the proximity principle? Anybody ever heard of it? Heard of the proximity principle? Falls into this. You, Nick, have you ever heard of it?
No.
And it talks about two sides where when we are around people moving in our direction, we have no chance. It's almost like you become the 5 people you spend the most time with. It falls into that realm, but it falls into two sides. And the proximity principle has almost two folds where you stay close to people that are moving in your direction, that's helping you be the greatest version of you. It helps you be better, right? But then you have the proximity principle where our voice has weight. People know, and I can guarantee you, right? The people that listen, that's how I connected with you when I sold real estate. The very first thing that I picked up is that you were you, and I didn't believe that you would bullshit me and lead me astray. So I wanted to stay close as possible to you. Remember I told you, the very first thing I said was, you were a very big impact to me when I sold real estate. And I used to jump on the lives and be like, hey, what's up, coach?
Yeah, you did. You still do. And it cracks me up. I'm like, hey, man, I got the Zillow killer calling me coach. Fuck yeah, I'll take that. Check marks in the win box. All day, every day. But it's true.
It falls into two sides. So when like I said, if you're going to be authentic and you're going to really, really help people, like you're really waking up in that world of how can I be of service to you, that energy transfers. It's just when people try and use it to leverage themselves and to bullshit people, and there are few people that are really, really trying to help. And I think that's why people connect with me. Like, they see this, but when people meet me, I am really, really trying to help you understand that you do not have to bow down to be syndicated sites. And if you choose to go to any advertising agency, syndicated site, software, it is not out of ignorance. It will be out of convenience, because I'm going to give you everything you need to prepare you to make that definitive choice that, you know what, I think I'm going to use them. But I don't hate Zillow. I think it has a place in the industry, but it shouldn't dominate the industry as the leading voice of this is all I got. That's not the game.
No, it's not. My father started real estate 47 years ago. Nothing that we have today at our fingertips existed. Not even in people's brains did it exist yet. But the one thing that transfers perfectly over from 40, almost 50 years ago to today is that he went out with the exact mindset of two things. One, everybody likes me. They just don't know me yet. And number two, I'm here to serve, bless, and prosper the people I meet in any way that I can. And he's been extremely successful. And a lot of folks, we just don't think that way. We think about taking before giving. And if we can invert that thought pattern and put it into video, instead of like, what kind of content can I put out into the intranet that's going to make me look amazing? That's mostly, it's a self-gratification thing. What about inverting that and saying, what kind of content can I put out that's going to bring value to the people who are watching this, that can maybe share this and be the person who goes, hey, did you hear about this new restaurant? Did you see this new business? Did you check out this new park? You know what? Did you hear about blah, blah, blah? The value proposition has to be on the other side of the table, not on yours.
Yeah. Well, it ties back to what I was going to give you guys with some strategies so just to get them deploying content, because everyone says, and it's always interesting, you say do a video, and the next question is, what should I say? I'm like, dude, don't you know your market? Like, you can't know your market when you meet the client. Like, you should know your market that you're trying to sell. But one of the things every agent should be doing the very first week of every month, you should be doing a market update. Tell them especially the markets you're trying to nurture. Let them know what's happening in the market. You know what I mean? And that information is right in the MLS. It's not a complicated. You can listen, be a broadcaster, get your paper in front of you and read it. You know, it's about putting yourself out there. Another thing that they should be doing at least once a week, and they can shoot all of these in one day. We got these things I have the coaching students understanding they need to have a theme day. And if your theme day is all production, then you need to get at least 4 videos. Once a week, you should be releasing a video about the market that you are trying to serve or you're trying to sell to. And what I mean by give them information, hey, what about this part? Restaurants, cafes, nuances, up and coming events. Twice a month, they should be the broadcast for that market, probably on that Friday, where they give everything that's going to be happening on the weekend. What is something that a new family or someone moving to the area should know about that's popping off? Where's the new breweries? Where is, like, what's happening this weekend? Mm-hmm. That's 7 levels of production that you guys can have produced every month, and that will saturate. That we just have one. We have one on the first week. You have 2 videos the first week. No, you have 3 videos the first week. You have a video the second week. You have 2 videos the third week, and you'll have a video the fourth week. That's at least 7 videos you'll be producing every month, and it takes no brain power to get that done. This is stuff that we're doing now. We're in the market and we're there.
You know what, Gene? You've talked about that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just going to piggyback on what he said, and probably 90% of what you just said can all be done within the 3-hour sitting.
One day. Yep. One day. The only thing they may need to do, even if they decided to get real fancy with it and interview, a restaurant owner, you can do 2 interviews in one day, and now you just add it to that content where that can be produced every other week. So that gap week, that instead of what's happening on the weekend, that interview can be in there. Now we went from 7 to 9 videos, and there's no reason why you guys don't have what you should be saying now in reference to content.
Yep.
Every month. And that'll take you 2 days out of the month to do.
And if you're smart, you'll get free drinks and food while you're at the restaurant.
Why not? Listen, I had this thing where I be telling when they restaurants, it's a book I read, and it was called Live, Love, and What We Ate. So where you live, why do you love it? And you can interview people and what we ate. That's a restaurant. They call the
Love
show
that.
that.
Love it.
Live, love, and
So
what we ate.
if you look at I like to look at local news channels and think about the beat writers and the people who are going out and finding stories. You can model that very easily and see, because there's always at least in my market, I don't know about you guys, but every news channel has 2 or 3 beat writers that are going out, and it's like the Ron Burgundy joke, like the squirrel that's going skiing on the water, like you get the
Yeah.
bad. You guys remember that, right? But
Oh, yeah.
but
Of
in all
course.
honesty, if you model yourself from a content perspective, like look at what they're doing, it is all that new stuff. It's things to do. And if you keep it from James's perspective as the hyper local authority, the dog parks and all that stuff, it really just puts you in. I'm an agent, but I'm a person, and I live here and I love it, and it absolutely helps. But the other side of that too is the paid side. And I know we're running out of time here. I don't want to go on a tangent, but having the strategy that I have is, and we go into video views and who's actually watching your content, but have content that's mass marketed to your hyperlocal area. So 98% of people are going to be interested in it. The people who are watching those videos, if they watch 50% of that video, now they're going to see some sort of real estate content, and that could be maybe your market update. And if they're watching 50% of that market update, then they're going to see your unique call to action, a unique value proposition. And that's my 3-tiered approach from a paid advertising side to bring people into your funnel, into your world.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much here we can talk about, and you three are just, in my mind, you guys are probably 3 of the best I've ever seen when it comes to this stuff. And I want everyone to, and Nick, we'll start with you really quick. How can people get a hold of you? Then we'll go James, then we'll go Gene. But I want to make sure you guys, do a plug for what you guys have, because each one of you guys is so unique in kind of what you guys do. I want everyone to know where to reach out to all 3 of you. So Nick, where can people find you if they want to talk about your 3 tiers?
Yeah, if you want to, obviously social media, search Nick Sackis, Sakkis. If you want to book a time for me to chat a little bit further, it's nicksackis.com. It's a very simple landing page. It's a link to my Calendly, and you can book an appointment. But for me, I've gotten to the point now where it's like digital strategy, right? And I know James does similar. He's got some courses and stuff and more boot camp style, which I really appreciate, because selling courses is kind of tough these days. You got to get the follow through and hand holding to make sure people are doing what they're supposed to do. But for me, it's digital strategy and really helping people navigate through how to maximize your dollar spent and where it should be spent. And there's no, again, I'm not against Zillow, so to speak, because they're in the market, but there's much better ways and more effective advertising. For me, I like to move the needle as fast as possible with cold traffic, get some contracts under your belt, and then really work on the strategy to saturate your database so that even if you haven't talked to somebody from high school from 30 years ago, they're going to know that you're the real estate agent to call.
No, that's 100% right. Shoot, man, I had a client of mine that called me after 16 years of me not talking to them because they're watching my videos. So yeah. It's 100%. James, where can people reach you, man, and get into the Zillow Killer tribe?
Oh, I'm super easy. If you guys look up Zillow Killer, one word, you'll find me anywhere, especially on Facebook. That's our jam. I share something with a lot of agents. Right now, you guys should see a ramp up in Zillow contacting you guys, because that whole buying and selling real estate shit they're losing a lot of money, and that's being broadcast now. So be prepared to be sold to that market that you always, like the zip code you always been waiting for. I guarantee it's available now, and you get that call soon. So, but if you look up, you look up, because that's how media. I mean, advertisements was their money. This other avenue was just an explorer of trying to dominate the industry, which you can't get mad at them. But media was their money. So now they're going back to media and selling advertisement, because that's how they made their money. So be prepared to get your data sold back to. But there are much, much better ways. There's much more efficient ways, like Nick said. If you guys want to connect with me at any point, you look up Zillow Killer. We have a free group. We do these random boot camps that we do. Matter of fact, today is the last day to sign up for the boot camp that's starting Monday. And I won't be doing another one probably this year due to my schedule. But you look up Zillow Killer, one word, you'll find me. I'm not that common. I'm the only brown dude talking about Zillow Killers, so you'll definitely find me.
So I'm curious. Have you gotten a call from their attorneys at all?
Nah, I don't poke the bear that hard.
Okay, good.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Gene, where
That's
can
why it's
people reach out
one
to
word,
you?
not two, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's why it's one word.
Trademark the one word. Yeah.
Nicely done. Yeah,
Gene, where can people reach you, man?
same places we've been following for the last 97 Fridays. It's GeneVolpe.com. And I got all the bells and whistles there if you want to find me on Facebook. It's a link away. If you want to set a time with me, there's a little, if you wait around for 30 seconds, there's a little widget that pops up, put your information in, my team gets it, and then we'll reach out.
And then, Gene, you have 2 podcasts, and Nick, you're building your YouTube, and James, where can they?
Working on a podcast. I'm working on a podcast.
Nice, about time.
All right, so
Yes.
check this out. I'm jumping in here real quick. James, August
Yes.
27th, it's a Tuesday. We're going to be filming our podcast called The Marketing RV on the Mooshaloo.
The who?
what?
It's a boat on the Delaware River that's a restaurant and a bar.
Oh.
I'm flying out. I'm flying out the 27th. I'll be in Houston the 28th, 29th, and back.
Dude, you missed it by a day. I was going to have you on as a guest on that boat while we're eating and drinking.
What time is it? Because I mean, you know me. My flight.
It probably wouldn't be until about 5:30.
Yeah, my flight is about that time.
All right, we'll get you on another one coming through though. We'll get when you come back.
Whenever you need me.
You guys crack me up. All right, guys. For me, you guys can know where to find me. Go to bookmcdaniel.com. Let's talk about EXP, how we're exploding. I'm going to go hard in paint, as a good friend of mine likes to say all the time. And I'm going to be ramping up my EXP team, and there's going to be some really exciting things that are going to come in regards to lead generation that I can hand you highly qualified leads when you guys join my team. So that's where you guys can reach us. You guys, please give us a review on iTunes or YouTube. If you like any of the stuff that we covered today, please do a hashtag, give a shout out to these 3 gentlemen, James, Nick, or Gene. And share the podcast, guys. We grow because of you. I love you. Matt doesn't. That's why he's not here, that fucker. But these gentlemen are legends beyond words. Guys, I want to thank you for your time. And as always, peace out, ninjas. We're gone.